All right, here we go. Welcome to the H&N Digital Center for another edition of the Long Game Podcast. Today's guest, we are very honored, the great Egan Inoue, a fitness entrepreneur, world champion in jiu-jitsu, racquetball, author, host of the Relentless Journey podcast. You're an expert in a lot of things, Egan.
I don't say expert, but I do a lot of things, yeah.
Egan's Fitness, your gym, is celebrating its 15th anniversary on November 1st. So we're going to be getting into all of that. Let's dive into your career. I'm going to start with this. What came first, racquetball or martial arts?
Martial arts, actually. I started martial arts from when I was 4. So I did like karate, and then I moved to taekwondo, hapkido. I did kendo. I did Wing Chun. And then I got into Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
Where was home base for the Inoue family?
Manoa, Hawaii, yeah.
Okay. Did you go through the entire Manoa youth sports circuit during that time?
Yeah, basketball, baseball.
What did you find, that getting into martial arts, and you were thinking like, okay, this is something that, reading about your career, I've seen that racquetball has been infused into it, but martial arts has always been a constant.
Yeah.
What did you gravitate toward more?
Well, martial arts I started because my grandfather was a black belt in karate. So I was kind of forced to do it. So from when I was 4, I was already doing it. And then he would enter me in the tournament. So I was already doing the kumites, which is like the sparring, and the katas, which is the forms. So I was doing that from young. I don't think I ever really liked it. It was just kind of had to, right? That's a grandpa's thing. And then, then I moved into, all the other sports. So then all of that slowed down. And then there's a certain point in my life where I think it was right before racquetball, I started thinking that the discipline that you'd gain from martial arts was something that I might need to better my mental part of the game or strengthen the the mindset. And so I started getting back into the martial arts. And then the reason I went to taekwondo is because of the flexibility in the legs. And that's one thing in racquetball. That's the thing that you start losing fast because lots of legs, right, and lots of core, lots of twisting. And so that's basically how I got back into martial arts.
I'm thinking, was your grandfather forcing you into training? What did your practice sessions look like throughout the week? The
practice sessions that was okay. And then my dad would be the one that would back it up the whole week. And then like Sunday night dinners, I kind of like, it's not a bad thing and not a real good thing, but after dinner, I'd practice. And he'd make me practice. And if there's a tournament coming up, I'd do forms over and over and over. Like I'd be sweating after dinner. And, it was supposed to be like a family dinner, but it's like family dinner here and Egan here training.
What kind of benefits did you find from a young age that training in multi-disciplines would help you physically and athletically?
I think what I learned young is that when you do the reps, you'll get better. And so karate was my first, where I first learned that, because there were kids that were higher belts than I was, but then when the tournaments came, because we're the same age, we'd have to go against each other, and I knew I did way more reps than these guys, but I always thought they were better. But then when the competition came down, I'd be like, whoa, how did I win that? And it was just, in my head, I was like, it must be all those Sunday sessions that I hate. That must be it, right?
Were there a lot of scraps with your brother Ensign growing up?
Not that much, Actually, he would back me up. So like if someone would, in like say intermediate school, someone would like picking on me, Ensign was there, was like, gotta go through me first. It was crazy. Yeah.
Nice. You had built-in protection already.
Yeah. And I think by the time I was 6th grade, he was the same size as I was.
No
so
kidding.
And then he didn't mind fighting. I didn't like fighting.
Right.
And it was funny because I'm the one who was doing the martial arts. He never did any martial arts until jiu-jitsu. And he was like, I think he was at UH by the time he did
started later.
He started jiu-jitsu before me, but I was doing all the other martial arts. And he tried Wing Chun. He tried a little bit of everything, but never like a couple months and he was done.
And you didn't start racquetball till high school?
Yeah, 16. I was 16 years old.
Hawaii, not at that time, didn't have a legitimate racquetball circuit. How did you get into it?
So back then, when I was 16, racquetball was huge, especially even in Hawaii. So we had lots of racquetball courts, and University of Hawaii actually had a racquetball summer course, and my mom took it. And then after 3 months, one of the clubs that they were playing at, the Oahu Athletic Club, they had a family day. And then so she'd bring me in, and I'd be like, I'd rather surf. I'd rather be outside. And then she beats me, right? And I'm like, I can't quit racquetball. There's no way I'm quitting racquetball now. And then when I was able to beat her, then all of a sudden there was another guy, and then she brought me, I don't know if it was on purpose or it was by accident, or those are the guys who are at the gym all the time, where all the old guys that had knee braces, elbow brace, and they could barely run. And I'd be like, easy. And then they'd run me around like crazy and then beat me. And then that made me nuts. I was like, there's no way. I mean, I'm 60 now, but the guys were 50, and I thought they were old because I was 16, right? And I'm like, freaking old man, there's no way he's going to beat me. I got to keep playing. So I kept playing, but there was another old man that was even better than this one. And, you know, because they just had such good racket control, and their IQ of the game was so good, and they knew how to place the ball, and just knew how to run me like crazy.
They had the uncle wisdom.
Exactly, the uncle wisdom. That's right.
What did you love about it, though? What did you gravitate to keep going with it and pursuing it?
I think what made me really love it was the speed, and how, not that I like to be frustrated, but it frustrated me a lot that I couldn't hit the ball solid every single time. And in my head, I thought, there's got to be a way that you can hit, every time you hit the ball, you can hit it right. And that almost never happened until, after about a year or two, then I started getting it. Yeah.
How old were you when you won your first racquetball world championship?
I think I was, that was 86, so I was 21. Yeah, I was about 20 or 21 years old when I won my first world championships.
You still playing today?
Nope, I don't even touch a racket.
No, is it pickleball now?
No, I tried. I played pickleball once, and then I was like, it's all right.
Because there's still some courts out there that you can places.
Oh yeah, there's still courts for sure. Yeah, I mean, where was I? I was in Cooperstown in New York, right? The baseball place, right? And then the health club that I went to work out at had a racquetball court. I couldn't believe it. And the funniest thing about it is, racquetball courts, like, they have this certain smell.
Yeah.
It's crazy, right? Like a jiu-jitsu place has a certain smell. And I thought, man, there's a racquetball court at this place. I could smell it.
Right.
And sure enough, man, I went downstairs and there was a racquetball court.
The texture of the walls, everything. Yeah. It's all so familiar, right? But you haven't touched a racket since.
Nope. I did that this past summer. But I was by myself, so I hit a couple balls, and yeah, that's it.
So after racquetball, that's when you found yourself diving back into martial arts.
Yep. Actually, while I was doing racquetball, right before the World Championships, I got into Kendo. And it was because I was learning Zen at the time. And so the Zen master, like, he was the #1 Zen master in the world, and he was living in Hawaii. And I had the opportunity to train with him. And so I decided that's where I'm going to be for a while, because I thought to myself that when a samurai has a competition, he's going to live or he's going to die. And so I was like, that's the ultimate mindset. It's got to be. And so that's where I went there to study.
Take me more into that. I haven't heard much of this Zen. I don't hear a lot of practitioners of it now. What are the tenets of it and the principles that set it apart?
So the key in Zen, they do it by breathing, right? And they believe that everything has a timing. And when you're off time, that's when you're going to get in trouble. But the only way you can find that timing is through your breathing. And the training is, that was probably a really tough training for me, because you start off the training with 1 hour of sitting and breathing, and your mind cannot wander at all. And we'd be in a dark room at 5 o'clock in the morning, and there's somebody walking around the room that you cannot hear. It's really weird, because I even tested it just because that's the kind of person I am, right? So you're supposed to count to 10 in your mind, and your brain should be only thinking of the air going in and out, and you're going 1, and then 2, and then when you get to 10, you start from 0 again. And you cannot think like, okay, what am I gonna do after this? As soon as you think that, you get a whip on the side of the neck. And was that by accident, or I wasn't thinking anything? And then whip again. And then so as the years went on, I was like, wow, as I'm breathing, I'm trying to hear the person, and your eyes aren't closed. You're supposed to look down at an angle in front of you, so you can kind of see, but you don't see anything. It's amazing.
And you're in your early 20s doing this.
Yeah.
How did that help your discipline?
It really taught me that to be able to focus on things, your mind has to be empty. And if you're thinking about what are you going to do next or what's going to happen next, that's going to falter you in whatever you do in life. And, you know, for racquetball, it did the same. Jiu-jitsu did the same. MMA did the same. And everything else that I do till today, I notice that when I'm doing the thing and I start thinking about what's next, then I'm not doing it as good. So the real thing is you got to live in the now. That's the key.
And that's a common theme that's come up. And we had Chris McLaughlin on just a couple of weeks ago, and said one of the best pieces of advice he's ever received and lessons he's learned is be where your feet are.
Oh, well, that's a good one.
Constantly stay engaged, constantly stay present.
Yep.
And was there a physical aspect to the Zen training as well, aside from the breathing?
The physical aspect was the kendo that we'd do right after that. And then the Zen way of teaching stuff is you learn by not learning. They teach without teaching. So basically, you watch them put on the helmet. You watch them, like, they don't even tell you how to put on all the gear. And then they hand you the stick and then start blasting you in the head. I'm like, what the heck? Like, how do I? And then you know, by watching and learning, so I would say that first month, I must have had multiple concussions because the kendo shield covers like only up to this part of your head. And then, you know, like if you're going to get hit in the head, you duck your head, right? Which is a natural instinct. And then it'll hit you over here where there's no protection. And like I had lumps all over my head. And then I was like, why am I getting these lumps on my head? And why do I not remember how to get home? And they're like, because you got to look straight on at your opponent. Even if he's going to hit you in the head, you got to keep looking. And then I noticed that it didn't hurt as much. It was just more of a shock when the thing would hit you. But, I mean, little things like that, I mean, it can change a lot in a person.
My goodness. How did that help you with jiu-jitsu training?
I think it really helped me because I could stay focused for long periods of time. Because by nature, I think I'm like an ADHD kind of person. Like, if you talk to me, I can talk about this and that, and I can keep track of everything that's going on. I mean, my man cave is a mess. Everything's everywhere, but I know where everything is. And that's just kind of how I am.
You were the first ever non-Brazilian jiu-jitsu world champion.
Mm-hmm.
Jiu-jitsu, famously, a sport and a competition dominated by the Brazilians.
Yep.
How did you break into that scene?
So I noticed that all the Brazilians are the best, right? And what happened was I thought to myself, man, that'd be really cool to go to Brazil and then win the world championships. And I kind of just said it to a bunch of guys that it would be cool. And they're like, oh, don't even think about it. Because if you're not Brazilian, you can't win. And I was like, ooh, I think I like that. Because when I was playing racquetball and I wanted to be a pro, that's the same thing that people in Hawaii said. You got to move to the mainland. And San Diego was like the Mecca. So you got to move to San Diego because that's where all the best are. And you got to stay there. And that's how you're going to become a pro. And I was like, no, I can do it living in Hawaii. Because in my mind, if you hit all your shots perfect or good, it doesn't matter who you're playing. And so through Zen and all of that, I figured out that, and I wish I knew it earlier in other sports, that it doesn't really matter who you're playing. It's what you're trying to do is that matters, right? And it matters somewhat, like, you know, if the guy's bigger, if the guy's smaller. But basically, if you just stick to what you know and what you've trained, you have a really good chance of winning. So the guys from Brazil, they know so much more techniques than anyone anywhere else because it really wasn't out in the United States yet. And so I only had a few things that I was really good at. But then I always had that Bruce Lee thing, right? You practice one thing. Oh, what did he say? He said, fear the man that has practiced one thing 10,000 times and not the man that has 10,000 things and has only practiced each one once. And then that stuck in my head. I thought, yeah, that's cool. So I went there with only a few tools, is what I call it, or my weapons, and it worked.
Many consider you one of the fathers of Hawaii combat sports. You know, you're breaking in at a time where you see just how the UFC is just so all over the place now.
Yeah.
You're trying to break in at a time where, you know, who did you find as coaches and instructors were to pick that up?
There really wasn't any coaches. It was more, you had to try to figure out what, like, so basically for me, it was like, what is going to be the best combination of martial arts or skills to have that you can take into the ring and it would be the best, right? And with Royce Gracie, it was jiu-jitsu for one, right? And one of the things is 90%, back then, 90% of the fights, or I think it's still the same on the street. Almost every fight ends up on the ground. I mean, even when police arrest people, they end up on the ground, right? So it's just a common sense thing that you have to have ground skills. But, you know, in this day and age, the fighters all have ground skills. And so now a lot of the fights stay standing, right? Unless you're, you know, if you get rocked or something, you see the guy shoot in to try to take the guy down. And if you didn't have ground, you don't have that option, right? You got to just stand there until you get knocked out. But I think that was one of the things that I think I figured out early. Like, you need Western boxing, you need, you know, Muay Thai from Thailand, and then of course Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So I made sure that, like, my Thai boxing that I learned, I went to Thailand to learn. And I'm one of those guys that, like, I want to get straight to the source. So even before I entered the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu World Championships, I went to Brazil. I stayed for a month or two, and I visited all the different schools, right? So
was that it? I mean, it sounds, you know, you just go in there and visit, but it sounds like when you present something like that, that would be challenging to just call up a Brazilian school and be like, I'm going to train with you guys.
Actually, how did we do it?
I'm imagining the Brazilians are very protective of the art and craft, and how is it for an outsider to emerge into that?
Yeah, they definitely were. They didn't like outsiders learning, right? But there's this one school, Baja Gracie, that we went to, was in Rio, and the instructor there, he was really open-minded, and I think his vision was to spread it throughout the world, right? So he took us in really nice, and at the time, Renzo Gracie, who's probably one of the greatest jiu-jitsu guys of all time, he was training there, and he was super cool. So he's one of the reasons why I think I learned so much jiu-jitsu so fast, was because he helped me a lot. I mean, he did things with me that I don't think anyone else ever did. He was like the guy.
What did the early days of Egan Inoue learning Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu look like?
So the early days was where Ensign started Jiu-Jitsu. So the first day was in our living room, cleared the furniture, and he's like, I can take you, I can submit you. And I'm like, you can't even get me to the ground. You don't even have, like, and he's like, all right, get you to the ground. Anyway, we went and tried, and he goes, okay, try and knock me out before, because that's what you think you can do. And I'm like, well, I don't want to knock you out. He goes, you can't, though. I'm like, oh, yeah, I can. Anyway, that started the whole thing, right? Ending up with rug burns on the forehead, on the elbows and everything. And finally I was like, I think I better try this. And so...
And your family would just step aside and let it happen.
Oh, yeah. Usually nobody was around. It's just Ensign and I were there, and then we just would roll like that. And then there was a judo school down the street. So we started going there so we wouldn't get rug burns anymore, right? And then we'd, you know, do our jiu-jitsu there. And, you know, I was playing racquetball at the time. So I wasn't able to just focus on jiu-jitsu, whereas Ensign could. And he started like only 3 months before me, but he was so good.
What's the age gap between you two?
2 years.
Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, he was submitting me left and right. I'm going, I can't, like, this is not right. There's something wrong with this. Like, if I don't learn this art, it's going to be a shame, because the way he made me feel after knowing all these different martial arts, like I was a baby. And I was like, that's horrible. I mean, that's a bad feeling. And I don't know if every guy would feel that way, but definitely that makes you not feel good, that someone can just handle you and make you move the way they want you to move. And you can just go into one mistake to the next mistake, from one submission to the next submission. And a good practitioner will set up 8 submissions in a row, and they just go, ta, 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 and you're like going, oh, I escaped one. Oh, now I'm in another. Oh, no. And that's another thing that Renzo Gracie did to me, was he just, for 1 hour, just one after another, till finally I was like, I quit. I can't even move. I'm so tired. But he never submitted me once, but he'd have me in the submission and go, okay, this is how you escape. Move this way, that. And I, yeah, go. And then I'd get out, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm out. And then now I'm in a choke. And I'm like, he's choking me, and I'm going, oh, and I'm ready to tap. And he's like, okay, now you got to slide your body this way. Get out of the choke. And then he did that for an hour, and I was like, so exhausted, I couldn't believe it. And that's where I think the light in my head clicked for jiu-jitsu.
So the best practitioners are essentially chess masters.
Yep, exactly.
Out on the mat.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking about all the moves.
Yep.
What did you find was the discipline that was the most difficult to pick up before you really started to get into it professionally?
So I think jiu-jitsu, the hardest part is that if you have strength and you're strong, you start using too much strength, and you don't learn the technical aspect. So you don't learn how to feel what your opponent's doing. And I think that's the hardest thing. That's why I feel like women pick it up the easiest. Because when they train with a guy, rarely is a girl going to be stronger than a guy, but they
And
can
guys think
outmaneuver.
that, oh, I'm bigger and stronger. I can just leverage my way out of it.
Yep, exactly. So like for me, like I'd be like, I can just rip the hand off of the choke, and I got away with a lot like that. But you save that till a real fight against someone that's as good as you, right?
How was your time in Thailand?
Thailand was that was a whole nother, that's another brutal thing, because their training is so I want to say like ancient, right? So one of the things they start off training with is they run 5 miles barefoot, and it's hot, and then they bounce on these black car tires, old car tires, and the thing's so hot. Like I wore wrestling shoes because I couldn't run on the concrete like that, and then jumping on that I would get blisters under my feet because that thing's so hot, and they're barefoot. And then they made me kick this leather heavy bag, and like when leather gets wet, it's like rock. And then like, so I kick it the first time, I'm like, ooh, that kind of hurt, right? And the guy's like, kick it harder. I'm like, oh. So I kick it again. 30 minutes later, I'm still kicking the bag, and I'm looking at my shins, and there's like black and blue. And because like, say this is my shin, I would start kicking it here. Then it would get too sore, so I'd kick it here. Then I'd kick it here and kick it here. So at the end, I was kicking with my feet, the top of my foot, and they're like, you cannot do that. It's going to break. And I don't know. I mean, that's what they're saying. That's the interpretation. I don't know what they're saying. They're talking Thai, right? And I think my whole, like almost all the way around to my calf was black and blue. It was like the crazy, like I thought it was a stain actually. So when I got back to my hotel room, I started trying to scrub it off. I'm going, this is bruises. And then I go the next day, and they made me do the same thing again. And I want to say after the 5th day, it's not that sore anymore. It's weird, like. And then till today, like if you and I just knock shins, you'd be like, oh, and I probably wouldn't feel anything. And I haven't done that kind of training in a long time.
Yeah. Sounds like straight torture.
Yeah, it's straight torture.
What is your family thinking through all this as you're going through this journey in your 20s, going to all these different places?
I think most of it was, when you don't know much about it, you don't really think that much. And I've never shared that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So we didn't have cell phones back then, so I couldn't take pictures of my shins. And I wish I had pictures, because that would have been really cool, I think.
They're just thinking, oh, Egan's going on a trip.
Yeah.
At what point did you decide you were ready to take it professionally?
I didn't. I never did. I fought by accident. My brother had staph, and they were going to make him fight. This was in Japan.
Okay.
And so he had a high fever, he had IVs, and they were saying tomorrow's the fight, he's got to fight. I'm like you can't. Oh, he's the main event, he's got to fight. And then the guy, I already had 2 Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu World Championships, right? So I already won it twice. So
and you had no interest in fighting?
I had no interest in fighting. I just didn't like fighting. And so the promoter goes, if you fight for your brother, then we'll let him not fight. So I was like, what's my choices? I mean, it's going to happen tomorrow, and he's not going to be better by tomorrow. So I was like, let's go. I mean, I'll do it. And I won the fight, and that was it. I thought to myself that if I'm going to fight and I get paid, that's not too bad of a thing. So that's what I did.
You won the fight.
Yeah.
So many questions here. So first off, the weight class, the weight
was my brother's weight class. Okay. And my brother's bigger than I am, right? Yeah.
So, but you were allowed to still go for it.
Yeah, back then it didn't matter. There's weight classes, but I mean, I fought guys, a lot bigger. Like in jiu-jitsu, I fought absolute, which means any weight. So the first year I fought absolute in the purple belt division, they gave me this guy who was like 290, and he was 6'6", like brutal. And I looked at him, I'm like, oh my God, like how am I gonna beat this guy? But what's even funnier is when I was looking at the draw sheet, I found my name and had all these Brazilian guys, and they were pointing to my bracket. And I thought they were like, oh, this is the American guy that won last year. And I thought that's what it was, right? But they were pointing to the guy that I was fighting, because that guy had never lost a match in his whole career, from white belt all the way to purple belt. And I didn't realize that until I saw the guy. And then I saw this guy warming up, and I didn't think I was going to fight that guy, because he was just way too big, right? And then they call us to the ring. I'm like, oh my God, I do have this guy.
What's the height advantage?
I'm 5'7", and he was 6'4", 6'6". Okay. So he was right in that range.
All right.
And then, weight-wise, he was 100 pounds heavier, over 100 pounds heavier than I was.
How did you use that to your advantage?
I sidestepped him, and then with a throw, I leaned on him with everything I had, and then I noticed that he was leaning back hard. So I was like, oh, this is perfect. So I just kept pushing him. And then when I started feeling like I was starting to get a little tired from pushing him, I just sidestepped him, and then I threw him, got the points for the ground, and then he started getting tired on the ground, bench pressing me and like trying to throw me off of him. And then I finally submitted him.
How salty was he?
Oh, he didn't even shake my hand after. He turned around and walked off. Yeah, it was crazy. I was scared. I was still scared of him.
What are some of the things from the time that when you started fighting professionally that you compare the time when you were fighting, you look at today that like you can't believe existed back then?
I guess the guys who are doing all those fancy spinning stuff, like John Jones, like that. I mean, he's the only guy basically that pulls off all those spinning elbows and those spinning kicks, and those are the guys who I'm kind of like, wow. I mean, they're so gutsy, but I think it's because they enjoy it more than I did. So for me, it was just it's a strategic thing. That's how I looked at fighting. It was like, okay, this, and I've always been that kind of guy that plans out the whole thing, and it never happens the way you plan it out. It's always wrong. Right.
So you go in with a blueprint of how this could go. Okay,
Yeah.
He's going to try to start with this,
Yeah.
I'm going to do this.
Exactly, yeah.
And about how often, what's the percentage of the time where the plan goes out the window within the first 20 seconds?
The first exchange is out the window.
It just turns into survival.
Yeah, yep.
How'd you win that first fight?
Triangle. I submitted him, choked him. Yeah, so I was able to get him to the ground without getting hit, and then he got on top of me, and then I triangled him.
In an odd way, it's as if kind of you had the advantage in a sense because he's had a camp preparing for your brother the whole time,
Yeah.
and it's all of a sudden last minute a new opponent,
Yeah.
and you take care of business.
Yeah, and he knew he was gonna fight a jiu-jitsu guy, right? But my brother's always that type that as soon as he starts throwing, right? He comes rushing at you like a bull, and then the fight continues. But yeah, this guy wasn't expecting someone like me, I think.
So Ensign's always hoping to just drop someone with the first 20 seconds.
Oh yeah, Ensign's like, he's a let's go. Like, I'll stand here, you stand there, and let's go. And I'm the opposite. I'm like, don't hit me because I don't want to get hit,
Right.
but I might hit you, but I won't be around to get it back, give it back to you.
Your first handful of fights were in Japan.
Almost all of my fights were in Japan,
How'd you
except
like-
the ending.
What was it like being on that circuit?
I think it was pretty cool because, like, say Pride was one of them that I fought in. They would fill like arenas that fit 30,000 people, and like, I think I fought in the Tokyo Dome. That one only had like 20,000 people, or 10 to 20,000. But this one in I forgot where it was, but they had this 30,000 people. It was like crazy, so much people. But it's not like Americans. They're quiet. And the place is dark, so
That's
you
what I
really
hear
don't
with baseball
realize.
too. Even
Yeah.
during at bats, complete silence.
Yep.
And it was like that during your fight.
Yeah, exactly. Except baseball over there, between, they're making so much noise. I mean, it's super entertaining, baseball in Japan. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
What a journey.
Yeah.
What was it sounds like, from what you're breaking down here, racquetball world champion, jiu-jitsu world champion, breaking in, you win your first ever professional fight in Japan at the last minute. Things seem to be going well. What's the most adversity you've ever faced?
I think the most adversity is injuries. So in racquetball, I think my first injury was a knee injury. I slid, I dove for a ball and I hit my knee against the wall, and then it puffed up. And it was an injury, but like when you get swollen, you can't bend it, right? But all it was draining the fluid. So I went to the doctor, they drained the fluid, and I was back playing the next day. But I had, maybe 2 or 3 knee injuries in racquetball, but it wasn't that bad. It was like cartilage tears. I went in, did it. 2 weeks later, I was back on tour. I think one of the scariest ones was I had a hand surgery. And that was weird because when I could play racquetball again, it was only about, I want to say 2 months that I had to keep my hand still. I couldn't move my fingers, and it tripped me out. Like, I couldn't believe it, but I was already having a hard time. I mean, before the surgery, I'd have to close my hands over the racket, and And then when I was done with the match, I'd have to peel each finger off. It was just stuck. Like, I don't know if that's like carpal tunnel or I don't know what it was, but it was the sheath that covers your tendon. The tendon was so inflamed that it couldn't move in the sheath. So you'd have to manually put it there. So I was able to make that season. And then I had surgery right after the season was over. And then by the next season, I was back.
And this is during racquetball. We're not even talking about the jiu-jitsu or the Thai boxing.
Yeah. That was racquetball. And I think that was the most painful one I've ever had. And even when I started racquetball again, and when I would hit the ball, it was just like shocking. Like, just, I don't know how to explain that kind of pain, but it's at your nerve ending. So the thing just runs through your whole body.
Do you have lasting effects still today from that?
No, it's all good. Yeah.
It's good now.
Yeah.
The most hurt you've ever fought?
Broken ribs. So I had broken rib. I had a cracked rib on this side, and the fight was I cracked it like 2 days before, and so training was actually, was just training, and then I don't know, I forgot what happened, but hurt my rib, and then I didn't tell anyone because they'll cancel the fight immediately, right? And they don't check your ribs. Like, they don't poke your ribs before the fight. They check your eyes. They check, make sure you got a cup. They make sure that your hands, everything's working good. You can see good, but they don't check your ribs. So I went in and fought with broken ribs.
Concussions?
Lots of concussions.
Oh,
Yeah, I think I had a bunch of concussions. I think I fought once with a broken hand. My right hand was broken.
During the fight?
No, it was before. It was 2 days before.
Oh, yeah.
I know. And it was for, you know what it was for too? It was for the promotion of the fight. The promoter was wearing a metal face gear, and he was like, okay, just hit me as hard as you can. So I had the cameraman there, and I was like, oh yeah, frick, I'll just, and I had a glove on. So I hit him, and I was like, oh, something happened, just like was bad. And like he went flying, and he was like, okay, I hope you guys caught it because I ain't doing it again. And then the next day I was like, oh, I couldn't even close my hand.
So you probably knocked this guy unconscious while also breaking your hand.
Yeah. And I was like, God, I'm so stupid. Like, what are you thinking? You got 2 days before a fight.
Oh. Yeah. 2003 was the year that you retired for the first time. Mm-hmm. Was it injuries that made you want to step away?
No, actually, I was going through a divorce, and it was a bad divorce. It was like I had 3 daughters with her, and she wanted custody of them. Okay. So one of the main weapons a lady can have against a guy is to say that I abused her. So that's what she did, right? So I was going through this criminal trial first. And
how old were you at the time?
I was, let me see.
Late 30s.
Yeah, I was probably in the mid 30s somewhere. And yeah, I was in my mid 30s. And that's when I was like, my attorney was like, you got to stay out of your gym. We cannot get any video, or no one can have anything where you're hitting people, because she's gonna win this, right? And I'm like, oh. And he goes, and then you won't see your kids. And I was like, oh my gosh. And the thought of not being able to see my kids is what really got me to, okay. Because at first I was like, I'm gonna keep training. He won't know.
Right.
And then little by little, like, we started closing the door so I could keep training, because it was something that I always did. And I had one more fight coming up right before. So I told him, I said, I just need this one more fight. And he was like, no, you can't fight. You gotta. And then I said, then I won't be able to pay you if you don't let me fight, because that's how I'm getting the money. No. So he was kind of like, you know what? We'll just make a continuance on this thing. So that's what we did. We made a continuance on the criminal trial. And lucky for me, I was innocent, because they were going to put me in jail just to make an example out of me. So it was a lot of pressure during that time. And it was kind of good, because I fought that one fight and I got hurt. So I should have listened to him and just not trained, not fought. And that was one of the times where I thought that because of working on my Zen and my mindset and my focus, it wouldn't affect me. But it did.
I was going to say, what kind of toll does that take on?
Yeah, so it my training everything was good. I felt good. Something was just a little bit off. And I was winning the whole fight. And like, I hurt a rib again. And it was what they call a cartilage tear. that's what you have between your ribs. The thing popped out, and then it tore. So I could barely even breathe. So because I won that first round, it was in the second round. I thought, okay, if I can just survive, I could just, because I'm not going to lose to this guy. Yeah. And I couldn't even crawl back to my corner. And so I asked the ref if I could just lay there and then till the next round. And they're like, no, you got to go back to your corner or else you're disqualified. So I tried everything. My brother tried to drag me, but every time he'd pull me just a little, it's like it was like knives going right through me. And I was like, man, this is way worse than a cracked rib, because I fought with a cracked rib before. And this was just so much pain.
I can imagine thinking back to the Zen training, where you can't be thinking about anything else.
Yeah.
But when you're in the ring and you have that going on in your personal life, I can imagine it's extremely hard to not think about anything else, letting any other thoughts creep in.
And it's weird because I was there. I mean, I was mentally there. Like I had my mind clear, but I think your subconscious mind is off. And I don't know what the samurais ever did, to get that out, because I'm sure they had the same thing, or maybe samurais just don't have a family, right?
5 years later, you decide to get back into it.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing at that point, everything is taken care of personally.
Yeah.
Was it a feeling of, I need one more fight?
Yeah, it was because I didn't want to end my fighting career on a loss. And I thought, and then there's this young, I think he was 21 years old, and he was calling me out like while I was, he was heckling me. Internet was there, right? So he was heckling me like
2008. That's MySpace, early days of Facebook.
Yeah, right. Uh-huh. So this kid kept like calling the promoter, posting stuff. Egan's scared. That's why he retired, because he didn't want to fight me, and he was 16-0. And I was like, I looked at all the whatever fights he had, and I'm like, I can beat this guy. Yeah. And so I took that fight, and I won that fight. So
Blaisdell.
And that's another fight that I had a whole plan how I was going to beat him. It went out the window the first 2 seconds of the fight.
What did it devolve into?
A super fast finish. I was going to take this guy long, and I was just going to like stand up with him and just mess with him. That was the plan. Uh-huh. And then he threw this high kick that just missed my head, and I was like, oh, this guy, I got to get to the ground. That could have been dangerous. Took him down, finished the fight.
Nice. Nice. What's that feeling like? A lot of people don't know what that feeling is, of putting somebody into a TKO, and that's it. You finish somebody in the ring. What is that feeling? How do you describe it?
Oh, okay. It's a hard. How do I say it? I don't want people to think of it wrong, but when you're hitting somebody really good, and the guy knows how to fight, and you land solid punches, I don't know if there's any better feeling. Like it just, sometimes I still in my head I feel like. And I can see why some of these fighters fight on the street sometimes by, it's like you start missing that, like that contact. Like it's weird. So because that feeling, like when you hit someone and they fall, you don't even feel them. Like you don't even feel your hand hit. It's just this perfect timing, perfect amount of speed and strength. And that's kind of like almost like a baseball player. When they hit that ball perfect, they just know. They don't feel it. The ball hit the bat. Yeah. Kind of that same thing.
Is it like an out-of-body experience?
I think it is, And that last fight ended with a lot of punches, because in the interview before, that guy was wanting elbows. And I didn't want elbows because it makes cuts. And if you get cut, they stop the fight if you bleed too much. So I didn't want that. And he started calling me chicken and this and that. And I was like, it's not that. I just don't want the fight to. And that's why I wanted a long fight, because I was like, okay, we're going to go long, because no one's going to get cut. And he was like, he was, a young guy, right? And so I brutalized him at the end. I hit him so many times. Even when I could tell his hands dropped, I just kept hitting him until the ref took me out.
And was that win satisfying for you to feel like, okay, I'm good here?
Yeah.
That's a good career.
Yeah, that was good enough for me. Yeah.
To reach that decision is huge.
Yeah.
Because you see so many instances of fighters wanting to hold on to it and keep it going, and then it just turns into what it turns into.
Yeah, I think that's the mistake of a lot of fighters, there's so many different things. It's like it's your way of life. It's the things that you did for so many years, and even if you know it, you're slipping. A lot of guys, I can do it, right? And even after they lose a couple times, their mentality is, oh, I want a rematch with that guy. And sometimes, you know, and I learned that in racquetball where I had a knee injury. I came back, and there were 2 younger guys that were up and coming, and I played both of them. And I realized that there's no way I'm going to beat these guys. And they beat me once each. And I was like, my rule is I never lose to someone twice. So I went back in another tournament. I got to play one of them, couldn't beat him. Another tournament, I played the next guy, couldn't beat him. And I could tell, like, I was playing good, but not good enough to beat these guys. And I thought, even on my best day, these guys might still be able to beat me. And I was ranked, you know, top 5 at that time. And I knew I couldn't beat these guys. And so I learned then that that's the time to walk away. And a lot of the racquetball players, I mean, they stayed for another 10 years, but now they're top 20. And I think if you're okay with that, then that's fine, because you can still make a living being top 20 racquetball player in the world. But for me, it was like, if I can't be like number 1, then that's okay. I'll go somewhere else.
Yeah. Know when to step away.
Yeah, yeah.
When did you decide, and how did it come together where you're going to set up Egan's Fitness?
So Egan's Fitness came about where my wife that I have now, she was my girlfriend at the time, and she knew nothing about fighting. And I never told her I was a fighter, because I was a pharmaceutical salesperson at the time, right? I was working for Merck when I met her. So I was on Maui, she was living on Maui, and
so this is your second career, working in pharmaceuticals.
Well, at the ending of my fighting career, I became a pharmaceutical rep so I could have medical insurance, because I was getting a little worried. I'm getting a little older, and stuff started happening. So that's what I did. And so, you know, we started talking, and then, you know, she knew I played racquetball, and she thought I was a pharmaceutical rep. And a lot of her friends was like, I don't think so. I think that guy is like this gnarly guy that beats up people. And she's like, no, I don't think so. Anyway, you know, later on, she tells me, she finds out how much world titles I had through, you know, not from me, because I didn't want her to know nothing. I just wanted, you know, just work and like just meet her.
Objective.
And, yeah,
this is
exactly.
me right here. No Googling.
Exactly, right? So anyways, she goes, oh, so you got all these world titles, so what are you going to do with it? And I was like, and that's the first time I ever thought of it, because in my mind, I was like, okay, what's the next thing I can win a world title at? What's the next thing? And then that's what I was wanting to do. And I was like, oh, yeah. And she goes, and somehow she said it this way. I don't know if she said it exactly like that, but the way I took it was, it means nothing. You won the world title, so okay, so what now? And then that's how I felt. And then she said, why don't you use what you learned through those years to help people? And she comes from a missionary family. So even more, I didn't want to tell them about fighting, right? Because the whole family's missionaries.
And you're thinking, also, I didn't tell you about these world titles here.
Yeah. The fighting world titles, she knew nothing of. But, so that's the funny part. And so we opened our first gym, and it failed, because I was like, I'll do this gym, and it's got to be martial art based. So these are for people who want to strengthen their mindset, become mentally tougher, and still get a workout. But most people don't like that. It's got to be fun. And I'm like, it can't be fun. And she's like, it's got to be fun. I'm like, no, I can't. Anyway, it failed. We lost like a lot of money on that. And
how long did that last, that endeavor?
That lasted about, I want to say, maybe 2 years. And we were just like, finally we had to like sell our house, use that to pay off some of the bills. And I was like, okay. And then she got pregnant with our first child. Was it? Yeah, it was right around that time. And so we're like, oh, I don't want to have to go back to pharmaceutical sales. And she didn't want to go back to a regular job. And she goes, I don't know how she found it, but she goes, let's do boot camps. And I was like, oh, is that like aerobic classes? And she goes, sort of, kind of. And like in the racquetball clubs, always had aerobic classes, right? And then, I don't know, you guys are probably young, but that Richard Simmons guy, right? And I was like, oh, no, I don't want to be like that. I don't want to wear those high shorts and...
You'd be stepping on the, you know, the little box there.
Exactly, right? And she goes, no, it's not like that. You can set up the workout any way you want. And I was like, oh. She goes, just try it. So we tried it. We called as many friends as we had. So we had like 20 people that came. And I ran my first class. And they were, oh, that was super good. Next class, they brought their friends. And we're like, oh, maybe we can, because we were still stuck in a lease. So we had to do something.
Where was your studio?
In Manoa Marketplace. Okay. And I think, and she did the business side. I did the workouts. And after a month, we had a business. I think we're actually making money. And most businesses, I mean, it takes a year, 2 years before you make any money, right? So after a couple months, we were making some money. And we're like, wow, this is good. Okay. And it's funny because I taught all the classes for, I want to say, at least 6 to 8 months. And then we had another girl come in and she started, so we took turns. And this was, early mornings and then all evening. And it was just constant. And then, of course, jiu-jitsu at night. I was teaching jiu-jitsu classes. So that's how the thing all started.
What did you find most gratifying about it?
I think what I liked was, say a guy comes in. And I say a guy because when a guy cannot do one push-up, that's bad, I think, right? And to see him after 1 month being able to do 10, it's like I was stoked, or a lady that comes in and, she's like, her self-image is so bad because she's so out of shape, not only looks-wise, but, cardiovascular-wise, strength-wise. And then after a month, you can see them start dropping weight and you can see their attitude changing. And I was like, oh, this is fun. So sometimes, like a lot of times when the people that come in that were like not real happy, a little bit negative, that was like, oh, this is going to be fun. Okay, this is my challenge. I'm going to see if I can get this person to start smiling. And, that was it. And it was all about, I always tell kind of like a story before class while we're warming up. And it's always some kind of mindset thing. And then I found that a lot of the stories that happened to me when I talk about those things, that's what people enjoy the most. So, and I still do it today because, I don't know, things always happen to me.
Yeah. And what have you found from working with, because I see we've done stories on kupuna that work out at your class. That has to be so rewarding for you to see the journey that they can make and kind of just the difference and impact that fitness can have in their lives. Yeah.
And, the kapunas, they're amazing. Like a lot of, everyone has that mindset like, oh, I'm too old to do this or I'm too old to do that or I can't learn something new. Like you can't teach old dogs new tricks. And it's so not true, and one of the things that I've been playing with in the last, I want to say 5 years, besides balance, I've always been big in balance for my sports and stuff. And not too much people train balance. They just think it's automatic. But I always felt like the better balance you are, the better balance you have, the better it is for no matter what sport you are. And then I started realizing that your right hand and your left hand, everyone's dominant one side, right? Very few people are ambidextrous. But if you can be as even as possible, that's going to be a benefit. And when I was first playing racquetball, because it's all one-sided and I did no training but only racquetball, my right side started overcompensating and my left side got weak. And then I popped 3 rib heads out of my spine. And then I could barely breathe and move. And then when I learned that, it was when I understood that because the muscles are so strong on one side, the other side isn't equal. So I started playing racquetball left hand. And then I learned that from pool players that they're so good at pool that they make a break and they can run the whole table till it's over. So what they would do is they'd play the opposite hand. And whatever mistake they made is their weakness on their right hand. And so I was like, oh, so I started playing more left hand, right? And then, when I played guys who weren't that good, I'd play left hand. And, when you go back and forth, it started working. And so a lot of my training was like left hand, right hand. And then I started learning that it's super good for your brain. So I started trying it with the older people. Besides working on balance, coordination. So one of the things that I'm big on is the 2-pound ball. You can bounce it on the wall like this here, right? And then you go your other side. And even your good hand, some people don't have the control. They don't have the dexterity. And, as we get older, you start losing fine motor skills, right? So that, and then they start getting good with their left hand. At first, it's like barely can do it. And then it becomes a workout. If you hold a 2-pound ball and you bounce it on a wall like this for 1 minute, the shoulders burn, and it's such a good workout. Works your left side of the brain. When you go to the left hand, it works the right side of your brain. And so I started doing it with the older people, and I noticed that their balance started getting better. And so I have this 99-year-old guy. So after, I want to say about a year, he could do 1 minute this hand, 1 minute that hand. So I moved him up to a 4-pound ball. And he had to take breaks in between, but he was good. So I was like, gotta get something more challenging. So we started doing 2 balls. And he's starting to get it. It's been like 6 weeks now. And it's unreal.
99 years old.
99, yeah. So at that age, if you can learn new things, you can learn at any time. So, and those are the same things I do with my kids training. So like all the kids, the athletes that I train, it doesn't matter what sport you play. You got to be coordinated on both sides. And then I met this PhD sports science guy that graduated from Harvard this past year. And we were talking about training, and I was telling him how I train kids and how, like my son, I make him bat left hand and right hand. And he was saying, hey, do you know about that Stanford study? I go, no, what Stanford study? He goes, they've been doing it for 30 years. And what they do with all their incoming athletes is they track the velocity of the ball when they kick it right leg, left leg, throw, right? Everything. They do all kinds of different exercises. And they found that the person or the athletes that are the closest to each other, they're dominant, non-dominant, those guys are the ones that actually make it to the NFL, NBA, MLB, or Olympic gold medalists.
No kidding.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, I wish I knew that sooner. I could have told people about this a long time ago.
What are some other fitness hacks that you've discovered and that you've leaned on? I see that also from your posts, you don't drink alcohol.
Yeah, I don't drink alcohol. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What are some other hacks that you found that are just magical secrets right there? That have long-term benefits.
I think I really found that having a regular sleep time and a wake up time, because of your circadian rhythm, it's key. And if I sleep late one night, I still wake up at the same time. Yep. Right? And
I have toddlers. They do the same thing.
Oh, okay, exactly.
They think, okay, they're going to sleep in. Nope, 6 a.m. They're ready.
Yep. So I guess that circadian rhythm is such a big thing because that's how your body flows. And I think that's one of the things. And of course, exercise. Exercise is definitely something that you have to do. And if all you can do is walk, that's great. But to me, like when people, oh, I exercise, I go for a walk. I'm like, that ain't exercise. You got to build muscles somehow. Right? So that's the thing I feel is key, is that when you think of exercise, you need to work on your VO2 max. That's one thing. And you need to build muscle. And like I'm 60 now, and for me to keep muscle is really hard. It's like I got to make sure that I'm eating enough calories. I'm got to make sure that I'm lifting weights. And my weightlifting isn't like a bodybuilder's weightlifting. I've always never really liked that type. I mean, at one point when I was younger, I wanted to because I wanted nice biceps and big traps and,
Just get jacked.
Yeah. And then I found out, like, that's not how it doesn't help athletic performance, right? And so I really promote that a lot with the kids because, like, when they start getting to, like, 9th grade, they're, like, the testosterone's kicking in, right? Testosterone. At about, 7th grade, 8th grade, their voice starts changing, right? And then they start looking at themselves in the mirror. And I'm like, oh, no. Yeah. And then the parents say, you got to get stronger for your sport. You got to gain weight.
They only want to do bench.
Yep. They want to do bench and like bicep curls. And I always tell the parents, I was like, don't try to make your kids lift. Let them be able to control their body weight first. Can they do a muscle up? Can they do 20 pull-ups? Can they do 50 push-ups? Most of them can. So they're not ready for weights. Right? And that's what I push, because when you look at like the pro athletes, like look at Steph Curry, look at like the quarterbacks. They don't have big muscles. They don't have big biceps. Very few of them do. Look at Phelps. He doesn't look like he lifts any weights. I mean, he does, but he's doing the proper type. Mm-hmm. And so I point out all the greatest athletes, and none of them are jacked. And so why do you parents want your kids to be like that, right? And I tell the kids, why do you want to, like, you want to impress the girls? That's what it is. And no, it's not that. It's not that. Yeah, it is. And I said, let me tell you one more thing. The wrong girl is going to be the downfall to your athletic career. And my dad used to tell me that all the time. So I always going to blame my dad, because people are like, oh, Egan, he doesn't get it. But it's my dad that used to tell me. So Mike Tyson was my first example, right? He gets tangled with the wrong girl, boxing career starts tanking, loses all his money, goes to jail, everything, right? And I was like, wow, that's true. And every athlete that would have a relationship with a girl and their athletics started going down, he'd always point it out. And so for me, it's like no girlfriend all the way till I was 21. And then I thought, I can control that. It's tough, though. It's really tough.
What kind of impact does diet have? Put that into context for us of how dramatic of an influence it can have on someone's fitness.
So diet is almost, I would say 80%. And as we get older, it becomes, for sure 80%. I think when you're young, the diet isn't that important. So I used to love it when people say you can't out-train a bad diet. And I used to do it. So I'd be like, I eat anything. I drink sodas, I drink whatever. And I can still burn the calories because I was burning, 5,000 calories a day training.
At 22 years old.
Yeah, at 22 years old, right? And yeah, I mean, you see it. You see the college athletes, they eat anything, right? Chocolate, milk, everything. And they're fine. But I think that the sooner you can get on a decent diet, the better it is for you long term. So I think when I was like 18 years old is when I started cleaning up my diet. And I tried everything, like all the strictest diets. And what I found was when you're on a too strict diet, it's not really good for athletic performance. There's a level where you cannot be that strict. I mean, it was so bad that I would carry coolers. Like I'd travel for racquetball and I'd eat out of the cooler. The guys would go out to dinner and I'd have my cooler and I'd pull it out. And it was a little embarrassing at first, but I believed in it. And
what was in the cooler?
I always had like I liked red potato and salad was my carbs, and then always like steak or fish and I'd have to go to the market and prepare all of this to my cooler when you traveled. It was hard, and then sometimes you couldn't do it, and I'd eat out with the guys, and then my stomach would bother me, and like my performance went down. So then I started adjusting to where I can still eat out, but I got to eat the right things when I eat out, right? And then I didn't want to be so hardcore that I'd tell the waiter tell the chef how to cook my food. So I'd order accordingly. And of course, you can always go to the same restaurants, no matter where you are in the United States, they got a chain, right? So you know what to order. And that's when I started learning a lot about dieting. And like till today, everyone thinks I'm on a strict diet. I'm not on a real strict diet. It's like moderation. And if you have a good idea of what kind of calories, how much calories you're eating, and you know how much calories you burn each day, that's the key. And of course, I'm a big believer in high protein diet. So not all protein, no carbs, but you have to have more protein than carbs. And usually the way I start people is whatever body weight that you want to be at, you need at least 1 gram of protein for that. So you want to be like, I'm 190, I eat 190 grams of protein every day. And I can't eat that much, so I got to drink it in shakes.
That's nuts.
So I think that's the key in dieting, and that's what I try to push at, our fitness center. Anyone I work with, that's how I work with them. I start off with making sure you're hydrated first, get enough water, and I think that's a hack for life too, because 80% of the people in the United States are dehydrated, and most people don't eat enough protein. So sometimes by fixing those two things, people's physique starts to change, and like, wow. Yeah. And it's not that hard.
Mm-hmm. It also has a huge impact on mental clarity, I feel.
Yep.
Like if you eat just bad food, fast food, everything like that, you feel cloudy, and something's off.
Yeah, exactly. So if you have too much sugar or too much carbs, well, carbs turns into sugars, right? Then all of a sudden you get lazy, and then now you're always hungry because you want more sugar and you want more sugar, and that's that bad cycle.
Tell me about the device that it seems to be something that it's really picking up. You're doing seminars on it and the kind of difference and impact that it can make.
So this PEMF, that technology has been around for a long time. So over 35 years ago, I went to Japan to study it, and I brought it back to Hawaii, and it's not nearly as good as it was before. And I needed 10 of these devices, and I want to say it was $1,500 a device at the time.
PEMF stands for?
It's a pulse electronic magnetic field.
Okay.
It's the same field that the Earth gravity is giving you, except this machine puts it into you. So you know how they talk about go barefoot in grass or dirt every day for 30 minutes to an hour? Like, who has that kind of time? So most people don't get to do it, right? Like I'm in the water every day for at least an hour. So I'm getting that. But this machine is supposed to help you with all of that. So most people who like say you drive an electric car, you have to get that PEMF because the magnetic field in the car is like, it's like power, like living next to a power plant and how bad that is for you, right? So this kind of counteracts that. So this machine actually brings down inflammation in your body. So one of the things that I see, like guys sprain their ankles, you see the ankle go down almost immediately. Doesn't mean it fixed it, but it'll take down the swelling, which means faster recovery, right? Faster healing. So basically that's all that machine really is. And it's no secret that Japan had it for long decades. So 35 years ago, I went to study it, brought it back from Japan. I had a massage clinic and I would use that. And I was wanting it for athletes, but I ended up, the first person that tried it was this stroke victim. His hand was stuck. He had a cane and he limped. And little by little, I saw everything, like his hands would, and then he was good. But then from word of mouth from him, he was a sergeant at arms for the state capitol at the time. So a lot of people knew him and they knew when he had the stroke. So when they saw him walking regular again, all of a sudden, I don't have athletes in my massage place. I have all stroke victims. And the thing about stroke victims are when they come in, they don't have good attitudes. They're like, a lot of them are like a little bit upset. They're pissed off. I mean, I would be if I had a stroke and I was crippled and I can't move as good as I used to. And little by little, you would see their moods get better. And that was fun, right? As they got better. And I used to collect their canes. So when they'd come in, I said, okay, if I can get you to walk without that cane, would you give me that cane? And they're like, what would you want the cane? So I'd point to my corner. I was like, look, all the canes I collected. And so I had like, there's tons of, but the thing about that is you start getting tired. Like I didn't know how to release the energy that I was giving out. Mm-hmm. And I really believe that there is definitely, like you can get a massage from someone that's negative and the massage, it doesn't feel as good. Oh yeah, they went deep on you, but you walk out of there and it's like, still kind of tight, right? So that's my example for that. But anyway, the FDA closed me down because PEMF at the time was not recognized. So I had to shut down, which was in a way good timing because I was getting kind of burnt from massaging. It was hard for me to train and do it. But it's been around for so long that Japan was still doing it. And I mean, we cannot make that much claims in the United States, but if you go to Japan, they got all of these studies. I mean, bone healing, 2 weeks. The bones have calcium around it. I mean, that fast. They've done it for like cancer patients. They do it for diabetes. I mean, everything, just about anything that needs blood flow. The only time you really can't use it is if you have a pacemaker. And, you know, that's it. I mean, like I got double knee replacements and it works for me perfectly. So it doesn't heat up the knees or you can have pins. It doesn't really matter. But anyway, my daughter was in Japan and this guy she met showed him the machine and goes, oh, PEMF. And my daughter goes, I think my dad studied that. And the guy goes, what? I'm going to Hawaii. Can I meet your dad? And she was like, oh yeah. So as soon as he came to Hawaii, he brought that machine. I tried it and I was like, oh man, this thing is unreal. It feels a little different than the ones I had. But this one in 20 minutes, you'll know that you had blood flow. The blood flow was like unreal. Like some people start sweating. And then for me, like I have one bad toe and I can barely lift it and I cannot bend it. After 20 minutes, I had it off the ground like this. And I was like, I need the machine. I got to have the machine because it's been 5 years that I can't use my big toe that good. Wow. So that's it. And then after that, I've had at least 300 people come through my gym and all of them, very few will be like, nothing happened. But those people are the ones that really didn't have anything wrong with them anyway. But the more chronic or more bad or how bad the injury was, the worse it was, the better they get. And they notice it the fastest.
Oh, Musashi Maru.
Oh, yeah.
Very public about this.
Yep, Musashi
Talking
Maru.
about the benefits of
Mm-hmm.
it. And he was having issues with his knees.
Yeah, arthritis, bad arthritis in his knee. He couldn't even walk. And then it affected his back because he's walking funny. And within 5 days, he was walking without, like, he had to use his son to, like, lean on. and he was good. Yeah, so that was one. Micah from remember Stanford, he sprained his ankle.
Uh-huh.
He came in to see me, his ankle was like fat.
Michael Christensen.
No, Micah, what is it?
Alejandro?
Alejandro, yeah.
He came to you for
He
this.
came, yeah. Garrett sent him to him to come see me, and then he tried it. He was limping in. He walked out, and then he goes, "I'm gonna be in Arizona. I'm gonna play next week." And before that, he was like, I think I'm not gonna make the traveling team." So, and that was on a Tuesday. He got hurt on Saturday night. Tuesday, he was in my gym. He walked out and he played on that Saturday.
Wow.
Yeah. So if you even ask him, he goes, "Yeah, that thing works." Yeah. But then he got hurt again, right? So maybe he should have rested. But when you're young like that, just go. You'll learn later.
Best piece of advice you've ever received that you continue to share to this day?
So I think the best piece of advice that I would give people is to invest in yourself. So the way that came about was I knew this real successful guy. I mean, he had a beautiful house. I mean, he could travel anywhere he wanted. He had a big island house here. He just had everything, and he was such a good guy. And I asked him one day, I was like, "Okay, I have $500. What can I invest it in?" And he goes, "Invest it in yourself." And I'm like, how do you invest it in yourself? He goes, "Learn something. Spend your money on something that you can learn." And I'm like what? He's like, "I don't know." He goes, "What are you interested in?" And I was like, he goes, "Bro, you're playing racquetball right now. Go buy yourself some lessons from the pro, and instead of just try to learn it by yourself." And then so that's when I did that, and I was like, oh, my racquetball game got good, like leaps and bounds. And ever since then, I've been, spend my money on a book that would help me with, like a self-help book. And so after that, most of my life, I always tell people in the talks that I do that if you have a goal here, everything that you do should line up with that. So one of the things is like drinking alcohol doesn't take you to that goal, right? Takes you to the side. Cut that out. Going to parties, staying out late, takes you to the side. And, a lot of people are like, "Wow, you got to get a life, Egan." But from that day, everything that I did, I'm trying to get to that goal. And no matter what you do, no matter how straight line you want it to be, you're never going to straight line. You always got setbacks, injuries, whatever, obstacles. There's always obstacles along the way. But if you do those other things, you're going to have more obstacles, and it's going to take a lot longer. And for me, I've always believed for me, when they say get a life, for me, what a life is to reach goals. And I've always noticed that the people who wanted the well-balanced life, and, they like their work, and they do this and they do this. I mean, they're successful because they're happy, and that's fine. But a lot of people are doing that, but they're not happy because they don't have big goals, and they don't structure their life to reach those goals. They kind of sabotage themselves in a way by going out and partying, and I want to get drunk once a month. Like, how many days it takes to recover from getting drunk? It's like 5 days. And if you're trying to build muscle, just one beer or one drink of alcohol slows your muscle growth down. And in fact, it'll stop that and stop your fat burning for 2 to 3 days. So you can work out like crazy, but you get one alcoholic drink, it just sets you back 3 days of working out. And in my mind, it's like, if I miss 1 day of workout, whoever I'm competing against in racquetball, jiu-jitsu, they're 3 steps ahead of me, or 3 days ahead of me, right? Or 7 days. And you can't afford that. Life's too short.
It seems like this mental discipline and recognizing the power of positive thinking was ingrained at a young age. Does it go back to the Zen training?
I think that, and my mom and my dad always preached, like, gotta think positive. And even if they didn't always think positive, that's human nature, right? You can try to be positive as much as you can, but every once in a while the F-bomb's gonna come out, and and someone will be like, "What, you want to slap?" That's gonna come out every once in a while, but the majority of the time, if you can stay positive, and I think the key to staying positive, you can have a good outlook, but when things go bad, is where positive thinking comes in. And that's the hardest time to think positive, right?
Yeah.
So when you lose, oh, frick, I lost. But what did you learn out of that? That's the positive, right?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the thing. And, that's kind of how I live my life.
Embracing failure as an opportunity.
Exactly. Everyone looks at failure and obstacles as a bad thing. It's not.
November 1st, Egan's Fitness is celebrating its 15th year anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about the festivities that we're going to be seeing on that day.
So we got all of the different vendors that we use. And, of course, we're going to have some vendors there that, snacks or whatever. And we're going to have, like different people that will get to try our different classes. We have this new one called Holo Hit where I think all the younger people really like it. But, some of the older people like it too. But it's a hit workout in 90 degrees. So we got these ceramic heaters on the ceiling, and my daughter's teaching it with her friend and Bailey, and it's been a hit. It's taking off, and I think like the younger people, like our demographics is older people, and I think it's probably because we have a dress code, so you only can show so much skin, right? And that class you can go no shirt if you're a guy, and the girls got like I don't know, they wear whatever they want. and I think that's what the young kids, right? You go to the beach, they're all in G-strings.
What's the dress code at Egan's Fitness?
You can't show so much skin. Like
okay.
We got pictures of how much skin you can show, so the front desk person has to enforce that.
We did a story at Gold's Gym one time, and Dave, he goes, "You look at something. My gym, I don't put TVs, okay, and no mirrors, because I don't want guys stopping each time to either watch TV or look at themselves after they do a set of bench."
Yeah, right. But then now they got their phones, right? And they're sitting on the bench looking at their phone.
Oh, man. So November 1st, there's going to be a lot happening.
November 1st, yeah. Everyone can see the gym. I mean, a lot of people don't even know that I have a gym. It's really weird that they walk in and goes, "Oh, I didn't know you." And it's an old Punoho Spa is where our main gym is right now. We have one in Pro City at Times Square, but that's our main one. And, like, the whole top floor is all weights. And then downstairs we have like a recovery room that has a sauna, cold plunge. We have our group fitness with mats, our heavy bags for, our striking classes. We got locker rooms, and then we have another room that for jiu-jitsu, but also for the Holo Hit classes.
Oh, terrific. 15 years later.
15 years.
I think back to when you were saying that you tried your first gym endeavor and it failed.
Yeah.
You don't lose to the same opponent twice.
Well, hope so, because COVID really did a number on us, man. We thought we were doing really good, and then COVID, like a lot of people quit, and I want to say 75% of our membership quit, and we didn't get all 75 back once COVID was over. So, and there's a lot of reasons why, right? A lot of people gained their weight back, and they don't want to go through what they did, and that's what I've heard a lot of.
How did you find the importance of, evolving through that and kind of just working your way through it to bring back the clients and get up and running?
So back then we were only group fitness, and what we had to do was we had to kind of change. Like, we're always pivoting, and like the fitness, as far as like any sport, it changes, it evolves. If you don't evolve with it, you're left behind. Fitness is exactly the same thing. And like some of the examples would be, when I was younger, when we'd stretch before baseball games or basketball, it's static stretching. Nowadays, that's bad, right? Because it takes away explosive movement. So it's dynamic stretching. So that's a good example of how. And then when I was doing karate, we'd be like, when we count, we'd be like bouncing. And like, oh, you can't bounce, you're going to tear your muscles. Now, mobility stuff, you're doing movement, and it's similar to bouncing. So that's an easy example. But say as far as dieting and weightlifting and HIIT training and all of that kind of stuff, a lot of those things have changed. Yeah. Like one of the longevity things is your grip strength. So how much weight can you farmers carry, right? If you're 40 years or younger, you should be able to carry your body weight for 1 minute. So if you're a 200-pound guy, you need a 100-pound dumbbell in each hand, and you have to be able to walk for 1 minute. Most people can't do it. So those things have evolved, right?
And also, too, it seems to be a movement toward embracing more group fitness and the camaraderie that comes with that.
I think it's big, right? Because if you go through weightlifting gyms, same group weight works out at the same time, right? And if one person is missing, oh, where's that person? And with our group fitness classes, it's exactly like that. We got 20 guys, sometimes 30 guys in the class, and they all know each other. And if one person doesn't show up, someone's gonna text them, "Hey, you okay?" You know. And then for our weightlifting side, we do semi-privates. Same thing, right? Those people, like if one person's missing, and you know the thing about group fitness, I think, is as we get older, it's really hard. Like when you're young, you know what you want to do. Might not be the right thing, but it don't matter because you're young, right? And you just do it. As you get older, it's harder to do those things, right? You just want to come in and get the workout. You don't want to have to plan your workout. So when you have a group fitness, you just walk in. And then the trainer has it all set for you. If it's weightlifting, he's got all the lifts. If you have twice a week, if you sign up for twice a week, your workouts is split, so it works better, right? In our group fitness classes that are downstairs, that's mostly body weight, and we use other weight stuff, but not like weightlifting kind. It's every day is a different thing that we're doing. So like one day is a HIIT workout, which is Tabatas, which is like super high intensity. We have one day that work on balance and strength. We have one day that is more like a endurance type workout. So every day, Monday through Saturday, is something different.
Nice. Multiple disciplines at all times.
Yeah.
Where can people sign up?
So
you
can look us up at hawaiifitcamp.com,
okay,
right? Or just Google me and you can find me easy. I'm easy to find.
Where can people find your podcast and your book?
So the podcast is a Relentless Journey, and that is on YouTube, right? You can also follow me on Instagram, Egan Inoue. I'm easy to find. You can find anything that I do on there. My book, it's out at Barnes & Noble. We're waiting for a whole nother shipment of books to come in. Or at my gym right now, it's all gone. But it'll be back soon.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Pleasure talking with you, Egan.
All right, thank you.
Really appreciate it.
Thanks.
The great Egan Inoue on another edition of the Long Game Podcast. Ton of great insights. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. You can catch the full conversation and also past conversations we've done on this pod as well on the H&N streaming app or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Aloha.